Two friends, Tunde and Kemi, were on a road trip when their car broke down in the middle of nowhere. They spotted an old inn with a dimly lit sign swaying in the wind. With no other option, they decided to stay the night. The innkeeper, an elderly man with deep-set eyes, greeted them at the door. The inn felt cold, too cold for comfort. And as they stepped inside, they noticed the air was unnaturally frigid. The old man handed them a key to room 13, warning them to keep the door closed after midnight. The friends chuckled at the superstition, thinking it was just another old myth to scare tourists. As they headed to their room, Tunde felt a sudden chill run down his spine, as though someone or something was watching them. Kemi brushed it off, but the sense of unease lingered. As they entered the room, the door slammed shut on its own. They exchanged nervous glances, but tried to laugh it off. Little did they know, their night was only just beginning. As Tunde and Kemi settled into their room, they noticed something strange. The temperature kept dropping despite the heater being on full blast. Tunde walked to the window to see if it was open, but it was tightly shut. He placed his hand on the window pane, and it was freezing to the touch. Kemi joked that maybe the inn was haunted, but Tunde wasn't laughing. He started feeling uneasy and suggested they leave first thing in the morning. Suddenly, they heard a faint creaking sound from the corner of the room. They turned to see an old wooden rocking chair moving slowly back and forth, even though no one was near it. Tunde walked over to inspect it, but the moment he touched the chair, it stopped. Kemi, trying to stay calm, suggested they go to bed, but neither of them could shake off the feeling that they weren't alone. Throughout the night, they heard whispers, soft but insistent, as if someone or something was trying to communicate with them. The temperature continued to drop, and Kemi shivered under the blankets. Tunde stayed awake, his eyes fixed on the door, waiting for something to happen. It was almost midnight when the real terror began. The temperature dropped drastically, and a thick fog seemed to seep into the room from under the door. Suddenly, the door cracked open, even though Tunde swore he had locked it. A shadowy figure stood in the doorway, barely visible through the fog. Tunde's heart raced as the figure stepped closer, the air growing colder with each step. Kemi woke up to see the figure and gasped in horror. She scrambled for the light switch, but it didn't work. The figure moved toward the bed, and the two friends could barely breathe, paralyzed with fear. Just as it reached the foot of the bed, it vanished, leaving behind only the icy cold and eerie silence. They rushed out of the room, terrified, and ran down the hallway to the lobby. The innkeeper was nowhere to be found. Desperate, they knocked on the doors of other guests, but no one answered. It was as if they were the only ones in the inn. With nowhere else to turn, Tunde and Kemi searched the inn for answers. They found an old photo album in the lobby filled with black and white pictures of past guests. To their shock, they recognized some of the faces from the hallway, guests who had supposedly stayed in the inn decades ago. They flipped through the pages and the last photo sent chills down their spines. It was a picture of room 13 with the same shadowy figure standing in the doorway. Beneath the photo was a handwritten note: "He watches, he waits." Suddenly, the innkeeper appeared behind them, his face stern and his eyes glow with an unnatural light. "You weren't supposed to open that," he said, his voice low and menacing. He explained that the inn was cursed, haunted by a restless spirit, a former guest who died under mysterious circumstances many years ago. The spirit roamed the halls, searching for something it lost, and it doesn't like intruders. Tunde and Kemi tried to leave, but the front door wouldn't budge. The windows were sealed tight, and every exit they tried led them back to the same hallway. The spirit began to manifest more clearly, appearing in mirrors, casting cold drafts, and whispering their names. Desperate, Tunde remembered the innkeeper's warning to keep the door closed after midnight. Realizing that this might be the key, they rushed back to room 13. As they entered, the temperature plummeted and the spirit appeared once more. But this time, Tunde and Kemi weren't running. They confronted the spirit, asking what it wanted. The ghost points to the photo album, specifically to the note that says, "He watches, he waits." Kemi realized that the spirit was trapped, reliving the moment of its death over and over, waiting for someone to release it. Tunde grabbed the photo and burnt it in the fireplace. As the flames consumed the image, the spirit let out a wailing cry and the inn shook violently. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the shaking stopped and the cold disappeared. The spirit is gone. With the spirit gone, the front door finally opened. Tunde and Kemi rushed out inside the cold night air, their hearts still racing from the terror they just experienced. They got into their car, which miraculously started this time, and drove away without looking back. As they left the inn behind, Kemi glanced in the rearview mirror and saw the faint outline of a shadowy figure standing in the doorway. But the more she looked, it seemed the inn disappeared. She shuddered and quickly looked away. The inn may have disappeared, but the memory of what they encountered will haunt them forever.